Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started, you guys, and the stragglers can come in. Thank you so much for coming to my session today. I really, really appreciate it. This is an amazing thing for me to get up here and do this, and all the lovely faces I'm seeing of friends and family over the years. Thanks, you guys. And I can't believe the coaches are actually sitting in the front row. That's showing me a lot of respect because they're typically way back there. So I hope that you'll find something today that you can take in your life. I've titled this Autonomic Energy, Wellness in the Face of Adversity. I think you'll understand that kind of wacky title by the time we get to the end, why I call it that. But whatever your adversity is, I hope that you're going to find something in here today that's going to help you with your wellness, okay? So once again, thanks so much for coming. So this last year in America, we spent $600 billion on the treatment of chronic painful conditions. That's more than heart disease, diabetes, and cancer combined. That's how much money was spent in this country on chronic painful conditions. And the World Health Organization just came out with their prediction that within the next 5 years, we will have a depression pandemic. And 5 years afterwards, possibly a suicide pandemic. So I think these two correlate. If 1.5 billion people around the world are experiencing a chronic painful condition, and we have a lot of depression, well, depression is part of a chronic painful condition for a lot of people. I'm hoping when you walk out of here today, if you're one of those people or somebody you love or care for is one of those people, you'll be able to assist yourself in not being at least depressed with a chronic painful condition, and you can manage it much better. So what really is a chronic painful condition? A lot of people think of chronic pain as physical. That's one, okay? But all the physicians, the researchers, the scientists, the psychiatrists have decided that there's actually three: physical, stress, and emotional, okay? So stress obviously comes from whatever is environmental, whether it's relationships or your job, or you don't have the basic needs of life or whatever, and you're chronically in an environment that causes you a certain amount of stress, okay? Emotional comes from things like traumas and PTSD, injuries, stuff like that. And then obviously physical could be an injury, could be an abnormality, could be a disease, could be a health condition that you were born with, okay? But here's the key on that. All three poke the same parts of the brain and send the same message to the body. So whether your condition is a stressful one, or an emotional one, or a physical one like mine, or all three, your limbic system of your brain is being poked. And that limbic system is sending a message. So pain, you guys, doesn't have to be something that's in your body. It can be stress or emotion, and it still pokes that same place and sends that same message out of your limbic system. And unfortunately, you know, I think of them as the three needles. The needle of stress, the needle of emotion, and the needle of physical pain. And I think of these needles as poking the limbic system and sending messages. So as I'll talk to you about today, I'm hoping today, if you've got some needles poking you, you can find a way naturally and organically to pull the needles out, or to at least blunten the tip a little bit and make it a little bit softer of a needle, okay? One more thing about the brain and its effects. So it's poking on the limbic system, and there are two major effects of that. I've done my homework on all of this science. One, it overwhelms the frontal cortex. So when the needles are poking on your limbic system, your frontal cortex becomes overwhelmed. And when your frontal cortex becomes overwhelmed, you have decreased attention span, you have decreased emotional regulation, you have problems solving problems, and you lack clarity, okay? The second one is it decreases your gray matter volume by up to 20% over 10 years. So if the needle is poking your limbic system, whether it's a stress needle, an emotion needle, or a physical needle, you are actually changing the entire structure and function of your brain's capacities. And you don't really realize that until you think about it. The biggest thing with gray matter volume is that's your learning capacity. That's your memory. That's your coordination. That's your attention span. That's your motor control. And that is your ability to process and think. Okay? So these needles are doing more than just causing you conscious problems throughout the day. They're actually structurally and functionally changing the operation of your brain. So it's really important that we take these needles out. Now, a lot of us add on medication to help with the needle. Well, all medication does is alter your brain's perception of reality as well. Whether it's prescription medication or self-medication, whatever it is, now you're altering the brain's ability to have clarity and process thinking. And this results in what a lot of people feel that have one of the needles is depression or anxiety or despair, and leads to all kinds of situations, which I think the World Health Organization is leading to because of these chronic painful conditions. I don't want you to think today, or for the rest of my presentation, that chronic pain is only physical. It's stress, it's emotion, and there's not a person in this room that doesn't have stress and emotional issues at some point in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year. If your issues are acute, meaning they can be solved real quick, good for you. But if they're chronic and it's over and over and over and over again, I'm hoping today will help you. So, why me? I'm not a physician. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a scientist. I'm a PE teacher. Let's go. I mean, I'm the bottom of the bottom. So it is what it is. But so those scientists, those physicians, and those psychiatrists, they study pain. I live it. They're going to tell you how to deal with pain because they read it in a book. I'm going to help you deal with pain because I am chronic pain. It's the way that it is. And I've found a way to help myself, and I'm wanting to hopefully take that out to the world. So, the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. I am the walking version of that, to be honest with you. Yes, I am very healthy, and I do take care of myself. But underneath these clothes, the book cover, the pages are ripped, torn, and there's some chapters missing. It doesn't read, the book doesn't read good in the physiology aspect. You look at me right now, you don't even know that I am wearing a lycra compression suit underneath my clothes that goes from here to here. And that lycra compression suit has to be worn for me to be able to stand up or sit up because my intestines come forward, because from here to here was the front end of an SUV at 80 miles an hour on my motorcycle 5 or 7 years ago. Thrown into the windshield, over the car, onto the road, 70 feet onto the side of the road. So I took the brunt impact of a car right here, which is the core part of your body. And what I lost in that accident physically was my abdominal wall. So I don't have muscle and fat tissue in here that provides a core and holds my organs in place. So I had to go through 7 different surgeries over time to build a synthetic abdominal wall out of mesh screens. Well, those mesh screens don't hold my intestines in place. My intestines still move around, so I have to wear the lycra bodysuit to give that compression and act as a synthetic abdominal wall to keep everything in. Painful, you guys, really painful. And it's never going to change. I have a shattered pelvis, 2 plates, 8 screws. Put it back together. The sacral plexus network, which is a network of nerves that you find in your sacrum and in your pelvis area that you don't even really know about, because why would you know about it unless something happened to you like it did me? Severely damaged. Those 8 nerves send messages all throughout the body all day long, and mine are impinged, they're ripped, they're torn, and they're sending messages 24/7, 365, you're in pain. Pelvic floor, destroyed, but thankfully, I still have my bladder and my bowels, which is a beautiful thing. I know that's a little TMI right there. But I can't tell you how thankful I am to be able to take care of myself. When you're in an accident like that, this is how you start thinking. Permanently fractured right hip, partially collapsed lung, lacerated liver, and the big problem for me is my pelvis was not put back straight, so my spine is completely out of line. Over time, the spine is misaligned, causing discs, causing pressing on the nerve, causing problems in the neck, causing headaches, causing tinnitus. Okay, enough. Basically, I just wanted you to know that I come from a place where I am literally under chronic pain 24/7, 365, and I have no hope for the future to get out of it. It's only going to get worse. But for 5 years, the accident was this month, 7 years ago. For the first 5 years, I lived in the world of conventional medicine. Surgeries, rehabs, pain management clinics, pills, over-the-counters, self-medications, injections, everything for 5 years. I did what everybody always did. And I realized, this ain't working. I'm just going down a road. I'm taking more pills. I'm more frustrated. I have anxiety. I'm overwhelmed. I'm depressed. I'm hopeless. And nobody could tell that because I always have my trademark positivity and energy and enthusiasm. But what was happening underneath was a storm. So I said, okay, I'm going to change this. So 2 years ago, I decided no more conventional medicine. I haven't taken anything. I haven't seen a doctor. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm totally 100% went completely natural. No conventional medicine at all to deal with the pain that I deal with every day. And it has radically changed my life and put me in a position that I wish I had known this stuff before my accident, because I really would have been thriving pre-accident if I had known the stuff that I want to share with you today. But thankfully I found it, and it's all with your natural biology. So I have literally been able to pull 2 of the needles completely out. I have no stress or emotional issues in my life anymore. And all 3 were on fire for 5 years. I'm down to 1. I can deal with 1. I mean, 1 out of 3, that's not too bad. And I've blunted the tip of that needle quite a bit too. So I went from 3 really sharp needles to 1 blunt tip. And it's working pretty good for me. So that's what I want to share with you guys today. So hopefully, if any of you are experiencing somewhat of a similar situation from either the stress, the emotion, or the pain, physical, can help a loved one or help yourself. Okay? So I've kind of divided it into 4 zones of impact. All 4 zones are natural zones. They're within our natural biology. So zone 1, I think, is probably the most important one. Everybody in here has an autonomic nervous system, okay? Your autonomic nervous system is in charge of your body. It's in charge of your involuntary bodily functions. It runs throughout your whole body. Your autonomic nervous system is in charge of your heart rate. It's in charge of your blood pressure. It's in charge of your respiratory rate. It's in charge of your digestion. You don't even think about your heart working. It's just working. You don't think about your lungs working. They're just working. You don't think that when you just ate, it's digesting. It's just happening. This is your autonomic nervous system. It does everything for you. And it's the most powerful tool you have in this world to overcome stress, emotion, or physical needles. Here's how it works. There are 2 parts. So I think of it as the yin and the yang, okay? There are 2 parts to the autonomic nervous system. And if they are balanced, you achieve homeostasis, which is balance, okay? Harmony, everything going okay for you. But you gotta balance the 2. The problem is a chronic needle awakens one and quiets the other. And now you're out of balance. And you need to learn how to bring them back in. And there's an awesome way to do it. So, first of all, the one that awakens is the sympathetic nervous system, which is half. And the sympathetic nervous system is called your fight or flight system. It's your place of heightened awareness. I'm totally working off the sympathetic nervous system right now. The other half is not even working. I am so sympathetic, I want to cry. So it's heightened alertness, it's physical activity, it's danger, it's stress, okay? That sympathetic nervous system is needed. That's the yang. But the yin is the parasympathetic nervous system, okay? It's in charge of the 4 R's. Rest, restore, relax, and reduce, okay? And reduce is inflammation, which we'll talk about a little bit later in my 4th zone. But if the needle is poking you in your limbic system, it's sending a message to the sympathetic nervous system, the yang. And it's making the yang work all the time. And the yin is not working, meaning you're not getting the 4 R's, the rest, the relax, the restore, the reduce, not working. The heightened awareness is working. Now you're tired, you're exhausted, you're depressed, you're confused, you lack clarity. This is what happens. You get a system-wide imbalance. Okay, so there is a really cool way to offset that. We have a thing called the vagus nerve. It's not spelled like the city. It's V-A-G-U-S. It's the largest nerve in the body. It's one of the only nerves that has both sensory and motor function. It takes a long trip from your cranium, touches your eyes, your ears, and your carotid artery, heads down through your neck, through your vocal cords, goes down both sides of your spine, and finishes in your gut. Along the way, it branches out to every organ. It is the nerve of the entire body. And it processes information, carries information, and delivers it. And this nerve is so I think of it this way. The hardware of your body are your organs. That's the hardware. The software is your brain. The software programmer is the vagus nerve. It programs the software to tell the hardware what to do. It's such an important thing, you guys, that physicians are now implanting electrical impulse devices into their patients so that it will stimulate the vagus nerve at random times throughout the day to treat things like epilepsy, PTSD, chronic headaches, inflammatory bowel disease, arthritis, depression, and chronic pain. People are literally going into doctor's offices and getting cut open and having impulse devices put into them to regulate this nerve that I'm talking about, to treat those situations. What nobody's telling them is, you can do it yourself. There are 2 main ways. There are hacks, which I'll talk about in a second, and then there's controlled directive breathing. Now, I'm going to say the word that used to always turn me off, yoga. Anytime anybody said yoga, I'd be like, I'm not listening anymore. I'm not, meditation, breathing, all that stuff, not moving my body in all these ways. No, I'm done. And then I check out and I'm done for the rest of the presentation. Please don't check out on me really quick. I can't believe a guy who was so against this whole concept of meditation and yoga and mindfulness actually thrives with it now. Now, the type of yoga I'm talking about is not the posture type. It's one of the 5 limbs of yoga. It's the breathing type. So I'm not in a room doing all the stuff. 1, I can't physically because of my problems. But 2, what I need is the breathing. And if there's any yoga freaks in here, yoga pranayama, Vyana Vayu is the specific yoga breathing techniques that I do. And I'm not going to explain all those techniques to you today. That's for another time if you want to catch up with me. I'll tell you the ones I do. But here's how simple it is. I do it twice a day. 10 minutes before I leave for school, and then I leave the coach's office at lunch after I eat lunch, and I go outside if I can, and do it for 10 more minutes. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch. Oh my gosh. controlled, regulated breathing stimulates the vagus nerve and gives you amazing energy. And at a separate time, if any of you want to individually find out the ones that I do, it's only 3. It's only 20 total minutes a day. I was doing it backstage here just before you walked in. Doing my breathing, getting ready. So the other thing about it is what I found is when I have a pain flare. And some of you guys know what a pain flare is. The anxiety ramps up, the stress ramps up, the pain ramps up, the back starts hurting, the whole bit. All I got to do, honestly, is do one breathing technique that I found works for me the best for 5 minutes, and it's gone. I don't have to take Advil. I don't have to take a pill. All I got to do for 5 minutes is have controlled breathing, and it's gone. I promise. Enough of that yoga stuff. The other one, there are actual hacks that you can do. So one, eye movement. If you sit and then you look your eyes over as far as you can without moving your head and hold for 5 seconds, come back to the center, do that again. The eyes are connected to the vagus nerve. That stimulates the vagus nerve and creates the 4 R's. Really simple. You can do it while you're sitting in a room like this, and nobody even knows that you're hacking your body. You're just sitting there and moving your eyes and holding them to the side, and then moving your eyes and holding them to the side. Try it. All of a sudden, you'll feel like calm. Massage the carotid artery or the eye. Do this for 3 minutes. Vagus nerve. It's connected to the carotid artery and the eye. So that's why you do that. Vocal cords. The vagus nerve runs right through the vocal cords. So if you sing or you hum, and that's the thing I like to do. That's why the yoga people are sitting in a room going, I didn't know that. I thought it was some type of religious exercise where they were all connecting with each other and they were a cult. They're literally humming because it's stimulating the vagus nerve. I do it, I hate to say this, I do it every morning for 10 minutes. Oh my gosh, try it. You'll feel a vibrating here and you'll feel calmness. It's amazing. It's amazing. Cold exposure. Splash cold water on your face, put an ice pack on your neck. The face and the neck are connected to the vagus nerve, and it will change it. Laughter. I never knew why laughter was the best medicine. I finally found out. It's because when you laugh, you vibrate the vagus nerve, and you feel rest, restore, relax, and reduce. I never knew that. Laughter truly is the best medicine. So I spend a lot of time on YouTube nowadays, getting laughter. Essential oils, lavender. Put it on a napkin, put it by your face. Changes your entire vagal nerve and gives you a high vagal tone. 2 more. 1, the outdoors. It is a scientific fact that 2 things vibrate the vagal nerve, the sun and the wind. If you feel a breeze on your skin or a breeze on your face, your vagal nerve vibrates and you feel rest, relax, restore, reduce. Same with the sun. That's why I was telling Mr. Kalantar, that's why I am so happy I'm a PE teacher with my condition, because I'm literally in the sun and the wind all day. So my vagus nerve is literally doing this all day, and it's awesome. You classroom teachers, get outside on your prep. And the last one is exercise. Movement, just some type of movement, moderate exercise. You're looking at a guy that can't really exercise, so just walking for 10 minutes. We'll do it. Okay, that's zone 1, your vagal nerve. It's called a high vagal tone. Zone 2, neuroplasticity. It's a big word. Basically what it means is neurons or nerve cells that carry messages in your body, when they fire together, they wire together. So that means when 2 or more nerves are simultaneously being activated, they wire together. They literally wire together, and they change who you are. Your neuroplasticity excuse me, the reason why they call it neuroplasticity is because your brain is plastic. It can be shaped and formed and molded. And you shape and form and mold it by neurons firing together and wiring together. This is a beautiful thing or a curse. Because when this happens, you process information, you create memories, okay? You learn skill and you learn action control. For example, learning how to ride a bike is neuroplasticity. Each time you get on the bike and you get better at it, it's because the synapses are firing, because the neurons are firing together, they're wiring together, the synapses are strengthening the motor control, and then all of a sudden you can ride a bike. The reason why you don't think about driving a car when you're driving a car and you're thinking about whatever you're thinking about while you're driving the car is because you now know how to drive a car. So your neuroplasticity takes over because it's fired together, it's wired together. Here's the problem with that. We form habits in our neuroplasticity. If we do the same thing over and over and over again, then that's what we do. So you literally hardwire your existence. And two things that affect the neurons the most, thoughts and actions. So whatever you think about has life. Whatever you speak about has life. Whatever you react to has life. You don't want something in your life, don't think about it, don't speak about it, don't react to it, and it doesn't exist. And then your neuroplasticity changes and the neurons fire together and they wire together. And then, so for instance, like for somebody like me, this ain't going anywhere. It's only going to get worse through gravity and time and age. It's only going to get worse. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I've come to grips with that. I don't fight that anymore. It is what it is. I just deal with it, okay? But I don't think about my pain anymore. I literally don't. Like I used to think about it all the time. I don't tell anybody about it anymore, except for today. And sometimes Coach Fochelle and I will have some spirited conversations in the coach's office. But I don't speak about my pain. And I don't react to my pain. All of a sudden, not thinking about it, speaking about it, or reacting to it, squashed it. It squashed it. It's still there. It's hurting me right now. But, so some of you will think, well, how do I stop thinking about the conversation for another time? But there are amazing ways to alter the brain so that you're not thinking over and over and over again about the same thing. So that's neuroplasticity. It's something that can really make a big difference in your life. Don't think about, don't speak about, and don't react to anything you don't want to live. You give it life through those three things. Third one, two more. The default mode network. We have regions in our brain that are dormant when we are engaged in a specific cognitive task. Those brain regions go to sleep. As soon as the specific cognitive task is removed, the default mode network takes over the brain. The default mode network is the place where you are allowed to wander with your thoughts, to perceive, to think, to zone out. Some of you are doing that right now. Like you don't even know I'm up here. You're in your default mode network right now, okay? The default mode network is a place where you make judgments. It's a place where you form expectations. It's a place where you create expectations and form attachments. Those things hurt. Judgments, attachments, and expectations, they're really painful. You form them in your default mode network. Think about it. When you're thinking, what are you thinking about? And are your thoughts working against you? Are you forming judgments, attachments, and expectations that cause you pain? Who said it? Shakespeare. He said, the reason I'm happy is because I have no expectations. That stuck with me forever. You just do things because you do them. No outcome expected. You just do it because you do it. So, The default mode network is a place where you develop your self-narrative, and it's a place where you develop your perception of reality. There are two types of people in this world, I've learned. People whose thoughts control their emotions, and people whose emotions control their thoughts. Ask yourself which one you are. Do your emotions dictate your thoughts, or do your thoughts dictate your emotions? Because emotions come from external world. An emotion is a reaction to something outside of you, unless it's inside of you like it is me. Does that emotion then direct your thoughts? Or are you in a default mode network where you can see that thing for really what it is, think about it in the way you want to think about it and perceive it, and then direct your emotions? That's the big emotion needle right there. So, I have been able to flip my script. I've set myself up for calmness and peacefulness. My default mode network is not an overthinking network anymore. It used to be one that raced and ruminated and considered and thought about, and now it just chills. And it's given me clarity. It's given me balance. It's given me resilience. It's given me contentment. Here's a couple ways that I have learned in my time in bed for 6 months and my time in surgeries and hospitals and so on. One, real time. Depression comes from the past. Anxiety comes from the future. If you were ever depressed, you're thinking about something that already happened. If you ever have anxiety, you're thinking about something that could happen. One is a figment of your memory, the other is a figment of your imagination. I don't like depression, I don't like anxiety, so I live right here in the current moment. Hard to do, takes a lot of training. Took me 2 years to learn how to live in the current moment and to not think about yesterday and to not think about tomorrow. Now, obviously, me and Coach Rochelle were having to talk about this the other day. You still got to think about tomorrow and the past to make sound decisions in your life. I mean, if you're going to make a sound decision for your life, you got to weigh things you've learned and consider things that are coming. But that's not your default mode network. You're making a sound decision through a cognitive focus. But when you're floating out there in the real world, like a lot of you are right now, what's your default mode network doing? Is it peaceful and calm? Or is it having a lot of anxiety or a lot of depression? Dial into the moment and you'll get rid of those too. The only thing that's real in this world is the moment that you're in right now, which takes me to the concept of reality. Every single person in here, sitting in here, sees everything different than every other person. Everybody's hearing my voice different. Everybody's seeing me different. Some people are hot, some people are cold. Reality doesn't exist. It's within you. You make up reality. Why would you make up anything that doesn't serve you? Impermanence, it's the rule of life. Everything's changing, 24/7, 365. Change, 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 change. Stop hanging on to things. Stop holding on tight. Enjoy it while it's there. Awesome. If it's not a joyful moment, it's going to change. Chill out. It's all going to work, okay? If the moment you're in is extremely painful, like it is for some of you right now, it's going to change in about 5 minutes when the bell rings. Okay? So just bear with it, okay? And if some of you are having the time of your life and you don't want this to ever end, it's going to change in 5 minutes when the bell rings. So don't hang on tight to either emotion. Just know that it's changing. That's a really big thing. Another thing I learned, wow, the world keeps moving. I thought I was important. I'm really nobody. Like, a car hits me, and the next thing, I was in bed for 6 months. Imagine being in a bed for half a year, a second after something happens to you. You have a lot of time to think. And if your thoughts aren't good, that's a pretty rough time. And so what I learned was, everybody just kept living their life. Fairchild was taken from their life, and they didn't care, they just moved on. I mean, they cared, but life just moves on. So you're really not that big of a deal. Everything you do really isn't that important. Like it is, but it really isn't. Like, get over yourself. You know what I mean? Just live the best life you can. Another one, wanting is not having. Not having causes conflict. Stop wanting what you don't need. And the last one on that, suffering. It's a choice. Suffering doesn't exist. You can't hand me suffering. You can't buy suffering. Suffering can't be bought at a store. Suffering is you. That's your choice. Stop suffering. Choose not to suffer, and you won't. Those are some things that I've learned that have set my default mode network for calmness. Okay, the last one, because I'm running out of time. I got to move a little faster. The 3 needles. What they cause, all 3 needles, is system-wide inflammation. And system-wide inflammation leads to pain, insomnia, fatigue, and mood disorders. System-wide inflammation is the leading cause, or one of the top leading causes, in heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, kidney and liver diseases, and autoimmune disorders. Inflammation is a leading cause in that. The needles scientifically cause inflammation. If you can pull the needles out, you have less inflammation. Less inflammation, better overall health, and all of those things. And I'm hoping today you walk out with at least one thing to pull some needle out, or at least blunten its force. However, I decided I was going to change my entire diet and go anti-inflammatory. So I Googled anti-inflammatory diet, and I went to town. And then I Googled inflammatory diet, and I cut those out. So, real quick, inflammatory. All meats, except fish, are inflammatory. I dropped it and became a pescatarian. Processed sugar in any form or fashion that isn't natural and inflammatory. Fried foods, inflammatory. Dairy, inflammatory. Processed grains, inflammatory. And the hardest one for me to drop, alcohol, inflammatory. No more beers at night with dinner. Alcohol is extremely inflammatory. Extremely inflammatory. I haven't had a drink in 2 years, except for a little bit here, maybe at the yard house or something like that. But basically, I cut those out. What I put in, fatty fishes, salmons and tunas, nuts and seeds, pumpkin seeds, almond seeds, almonds, cashews, fruits, dark berries, cherries, bananas, avocados, veggies, leafy greens, mushrooms, broccoli, drinks, water, green tea, coffee, only black. Don't put processed sugar in your coffee or dairy in your coffee, because now you've took an anti-inflammatory thing in its natural way, which is a black coffee, and now you've made it inflammatory with all your flavorings. So black coffee is actually anti-inflammatory. So now I drink coffee. I never drank coffee until about 1.5 years ago. Supplements, dark chocolate, 83% or higher, anti-inflammatory. Coconut oil, magnesium, mustard. Mustard is one of the 12 superfoods. I actually take a tablespoon of mustard every morning and just lick it right out of the tablespoon. My wife thinks it's the grossest thing in the world, but mustard is an amazing superfood for your immune system. Turmeric and collagen. Those are the things that I put into my life that have decreased my inflammatory response, because my pain needle, you guys, is never going to go away. It's always going to be pricking, so I'm always going to have inflammation. So if I eat right, then I'll have less inflammation. I cannot believe, you guys, how much more energy I have, how deeper my sleep is, and the biggest thing, I lost 30 pounds without exercise. So if you take away from nothing from this, weight control is found in an anti-inflammatory diet. And if you have some pounds you want to lose, start eating and drinking the things that I am doing now.
I quit drinking 8 months ago. I was a triathlete for 40 years. I got all kinds of joint injuries. I read a book about inflammation. I tweaked my diet, and it's like night and day. I'm serious. It's like, I was telling my wife that. I just, when people eat a salad, you don't eat iceberg lettuce with Thousand Island on it. Eat spinach and cabbage and carrot. I mean, it's been like that. And I stretch a lot more now, too. I stretch for 10 minutes.
I really appreciate you sharing that with me because it's just another person that feels the same way. Guys, I'm not over exaggerating. My diet has absolutely changed my entire life, and it was not easy to do. Oh my gosh. Dude, every time I go by In-N-Out and smell that smell that they pump out there, a double grilled onions, fries, and a Coke, hello, inflammation. I mean, you wonder why you feel so good while you're eating it and why 2 hours later you're going, why did I eat In-N-Out? And that's the reason why. But oh my God, does that smell good every time I drive by. Okay, so we got about 1 more minute, so I want to close up with you guys. To be directly honest with you, for the first 5 years after my accident, I was truly suffering. I was depressed, I was confused, I was overwhelmed, I was really suffering, and I didn't show that at school, but I really was. I have totally flipped that script, genuinely and honestly. That's why I'm here today, because I can't believe what the last 2 years has taught me in terms of these 4 things I've shared with you. It's totally changed my life. I could not have done what I'm doing right now 2 years ago before I started on this plan. There's no way I could have gotten up here today and dealt with the stress and the anxiety and blah, blah. Well, I don't have stress and anxiety anymore, so those needles are pulled out, and now I just deal with the physical. Well, I can do that. You can really change your entire existence through these 4 things if you take care of your vagal tone, your vagus nerve, if you take care of your neuroplasticity, if you take care of that default mode network and set it for calmness and peacefulness and erase that anxiety and that depression in your default mode network by living in the moment. And you maybe just changed a couple things in your diet. You don't have to go as wacky as I did and change the whole thing. But maybe drop a couple things here and there and start heading in the right direction. I'm an all or nothing guy, so I changed it overnight. My wife loves and hates that part of my character, that all or nothing guy. It can be the most beautiful thing in the world depending, or the worst thing in the world depending. But I am an all or nothing guy, always have been. I have successfully pulled 2 needles out. I'm down to 1 and it's blunted. I am offering to you guys any individual help or care that you would want. I will exchange phone numbers with you. I'll talk to you on the phone. We can text. We can go through email. If you want a copy of this presentation in its written form, because there was a lot of information here, email me and I'll give it to you. It's long. I condensed it, but I have it. Mr. Kalantar is videoing this for me right now too. I can send you a link and you can rewatch any portion of it you want if you found something in here that you want. It is my genuine hope and care for all of you, and I hope that something today is something you can take forward to make your life more well in the face of adversity. I really appreciate you guys coming in, and coaches, thanks for sitting in the front row. Love you guys. Thank you. If any of you want to exchange numbers or anything, I'm here. We can send emails, whatever you want to do, but thanks for coming, you guys.